Hello, you are on the channel Real Facts, and today we have an amazing story about a friendship between a bear and a man. At the Oreshkovo airfield in the Kaluga region of Russia, there lives an unusual inhabitant. He is called the air bear. His name is Mansur. 3 years ago, a little bear cub unexpectedly appeared at the runway. As the pilots joke, he came to look at the planes and stayed forever. Mansur grew up at the airport. Every day he woke up and fell asleep to the sounds of planes taking off. Stepladders and tools became a playground for him, and he could climb on them for hours. Climbing up ladders, he often got into airplanes. As this bear cub grew up around the airfield and airplanes, they call him the air bear. He was a wonderful and kind cub who loved to play, eat well, and bask blissfully in the sun. The bear became everybody's pet as all the pilots on the airfield knew him and liked him. People came to hug him, to shake his paw, or to pat his head. A husky dog of one of the pilots became his friend. One of the pilots, named Andrei Ivanov, became the bear's best friend. He was taking care of the cub as if he were his father. The young man understood the difficult science of bringing up a bear outside of the wild, from what bears eat to where they live. Andrei says, "We understood that for now he was young, but time will pass quickly and we should be ready for the fact that the place for a grown bear is in the forest. But to leave Mansur in the forest right now, when he is still little, would mean a certain death for him. We couldn't do that. At that age, he would not have found food for himself." The people were looking for a solution, and they got to know the Pasatnov family. They were amazing people. They're engaged in the rehabilitation of orphaned cubs, teaching them survival skills for when they let them go into the forest. But by the time they contacted them, too much time had passed. Mansur had lived among people for a long time, and he had lost his basic instincts of protecting himself in the wild. There were already enough bears in the zoos of the country. But while contacting the zoos, they found Vera Sochina, who was an employee of the Moscow Zoo, and she also was involved in aviation. She told the pilots about a special diet for the bear. Also, while contacting the zoos, the pilots found another person who promised to take the animal to a nature reservation area and assured that Mansur would live happily there. The pilots decided that it would be better for Mansur, but they were sad about that fact. However, it turned out that Andrei and his colleagues did not like the people who came to take the bear. The visitors quickly put Mansur into a cage and drove away. At the first opportunity, Andrei and his colleagues decided to come and see Mansur, but they weren't able to as the people who had taken the bear away refused to meet. So the pilots conducted an investigation and realized that their good-natured Mansur was at a hunting training center. The men went to rescue their friend. Mansur's roar was heard even at the entrance of the hunting center. The little bear was behaving frantically inside the iron bars of the cage. The pilots called the beast by name, and he stopped in surprise. When the cage was opened, Mansur quickly jumped into Andrei's arms, and then he joyfully greeted the other men, licking their hands and grabbing their legs. The well-mannered, contented, and good-natured beast even said goodbye to the owner of the station, standing on his hind legs as if he wanted to say, "I am not angry with you." The appearance of the bear was awful. His fur was stained and falling out. They took him to bathe. Seeing the pond, the bear joyfully jumped into the water. He loved swimming very much. A few minutes later, he was sitting in the car quietly all the way home, sticking his nose to the car window and looking at the highway. After this happened, the pilots decided not to give Mansur to anybody. They even took him to a larger airport. The pilots carefully studied the methods of keeping bears outside the wild, using the experts' support and advice. Andrei studied the basics of animal psychology. They fenced in a large territory and built an enclosure on donations for Mansur. People from all over the world gave donations for keeping the bear. Now he lives in a spacious area. There he can play and have plenty of fun. He can do what he loves. He looks like a child or a puppy. Experts say that the best way to educate is not to shout, not to use strength, but to punish by lack of attention. Andrei says, if he is making a fuss or messing around, it is enough to talk to him in a displeased intonation and leave him alone for an hour. Then he comes to you with a guilty look, takes your hand, and wants you to stroke him. A brown bear who lives in the central part of Russia has a vegetarian diet. These are roots, grass, vegetables, oats, nuts, and berries. Yes, he also eats ants and eggs with pleasure, but at the same time, the nice bear has refused raw fish and meat. He likes meat in pies or a Russian dish called borscht, but he does not like raw meat. He loves seeds, nuts, bread, and corn. He began to crack hazelnuts in the 2nd year of his life and walnuts in the 3rd year. As for berries, he prefers cranberries and ashberries. He loves watermelons and tomatoes, bananas and oranges, grapefruits and lemons. He eats beets, and he really likes potato skins. He likes honeycomb, cottage cheese, sour cream, and milk. Over 3 years with the bear, they had never seen any aggression, even when the beast was sick, he had a toothache, or he was a bit excited, but there was no sign of aggression towards the people. Violent behavior was directed at metal, rods, bars, and could be caused when his food disappeared too quickly. Such negative changes in his mood were observed only in his 1st year of life. In the 2nd and 3rd years, it did not happen. When the bear was hungry, he got more excited looking for food, but this was not aggression. According to the methods of keeping wild animals, Andrew is trying to give the maximum possible freedom to the bear. They usually give more food than the bear can eat, so he is not greedy for food. He eats only as much as he needs. When he is eating, he allows Andrew to take food from his bowl or even from his mouth without showing any aggression. Bears are very strong beasts. The physical strength of a 1.5-year-old bear is comparable to the strength of a full-grown strong man. The bear's weight at this age was already around 45 pounds. In the 3rd year of his life, his weight was more than 90 pounds, and his height when he was standing was 6.5 feet tall. At the same time, the beast perfectly understood not to use his full power while playing, and he gently touched the people's clothes with his teeth or paws. People should never attempt fighting with a bear in its 3rd year of life because it uses its weight during the fight, shifting it to the opponent, which exhausts more than the struggle itself. When communicating with any animal, especially with a bear, it is very important to pay attention to your own psychological state. If you are not in a good mood, if you are depressed, or you feel sad, do not go into the enclosure of the bear, as your mood will affect the beast's behavior. The bear has a sense of compassion, but if you are weak mentally, then the beast will control the situation, not the person, and this is not acceptable because then it stops respecting you. Andrew says, when keeping a bear, you also have to understand whether he wants to communicate with you at this moment or not. You should not be pushy, as this will only cause the beast's irritation. This was such an amazing story about the friendship between a bear and a man. If you enjoyed the story, click like and share it with your friends. Thank you for watching. Bye!